Celebrations all across the country, from Ranchi to Amroha, Bhopal, Ahmedabad, Ghaziabad, all the way down under in Melbourne. India, thrilled, delighted. Their team has stormed into the semi-finals for the 6th time in the World Cup. You're watching a Headlines Today special presentation. I've got Andrew Simons with me. Harbhajan Singh joins us in just a moment from now. If you have a question for these two cricketing legends, post us either on Facebook or Twitter. We'll be taking your questions live and putting it to these cricket experts. But today was the day when Mr. Talent Rohit Sharma finally came good. He's been the butt of a lot of ridicule on social media for this talent, which people say is like black money. You know about it, but you can't seem to see it. But today, Rohit Sharma stood up and delivered when it mattered. Players around him were falling, but Rohit Sharma scored the 4th highest knock in the knockout section of the World Cup. Take a look at this.
It's been runs galore for India in the cup that matters. Shikhar Dhawan at the top, Virat Kohli at number 3, Suresh Raina with his flourish in the lower order. If there was anything missing, it was the class of Rohit Sharma. But the Mumbaiker turned his tournament around with his maiden World Cup ton against Bangladesh in the quarters. Before this innings in Melbourne, Rohit was having a dismal outing in the World Cup. He had 2 half centuries to his name against minnows UAE and Ireland, but against the top rivals, he fell short. Rohit's 137 against Bangladesh, though, not only set up India's win, but also made India's formidable batting lineup more rounded. Rohit's innings now stands 4th in the list of highest scores in World Cup knockout stages. Only Adam Gilchrist's 149 in the 2007 final, Ricky Ponting's ton in 2003 final, and Viv Richards' 138 in 1979 final betters Rohit's record. The stage was set for him to explode, and he chose his moment well, becoming only the 2nd Indian to score a ton in World Cup knockouts. He may be late, but he's surely peaking at the right time. Sports Bureau Headlines Today.
Here is the scorecard from this match. Rohit Sharma at 137, Suresh Raina at 65. Now, Harbhajan Singh, in this tournament, in the 7 matches that we've seen so far, every Indian batsman except for Ravindra Jadeja has come good at some point in the other. Does this remind you of the Australian team that Andrew Simons used to play in, where you weren't dependent on one player, every batsman stood up to be counted when it mattered?
Yes, I think it's a very a similar kind of a team where, Andrew had played with a lot of the other great, in Australian team. I think this team definitely have that potential. Each and every guy is a match winner in the team. Yesterday even I was talking about Rohit Sharma. I was the one who said he's the only guy.
You were backing him?
Yes, of course I did.
I was telling you that he's being ridiculed. Even now, he has to help us win in the semi-finals and the finals against a tough team like Australia.
Yes, this team.
Then we'll salute the talent that he has.
Of course, this team and all these boys, have played in this tournament so far. Everybody have got runs. Everybody have chipped in with their performances, whether it's 60 odd or hundreds or taking 2 wickets at time. So it's been brilliant to watch.
That's a very fancy jacket you're wearing, Bhaji.
Thank you very much.
Andrew Simons, does this remind you of the Australian team that you were a part of, where it wasn't earlier, teams were dependent on a big Ganguly or a big Tendulkar. Now you've got all the way down to Raina. Anyone can come and win you the match, not just on paper, but also on the ground.
Yeah, that's the strength of the Indian batting lineup. There's 6 players there that are capable of making a big score. And that gives any team a lot of confidence. Obviously, you don't want to be losing wickets and relying on the middle order more often than not. You want your top order to do the bulk of the work, and then the middle order to come in and finish. But there's six very good cricketers there that can win games for India.
Indian fans have been very, very harsh on Rohit Sharma. They say that he scores against weaker teams, he doesn't score against the big teams, the tough bowling lineups. After this knock against Bangladesh, has he redeemed himself, or would that happen only if he scores a big century against a team like Australia?
Look, I think today was a very good innings for Rohit, and I think it's an innings that he'll be able to draw on in the future. He played within himself for a long time. The majority of that innings, he played within himself and then cashed in at the end and got India to that 300 mark. So, yeah, he should be proud of himself. It's a top knock.
Okay. Looking at Suresh Raina's inning, just right before the time he gets hitched, Lady Luck shining on Raina, Bhaji?
I don't know about that. Lady is still quite far from him. I think it's just that with the way he normally he back himself, in those situations where he need to go out there in the middle and support the other guy, you know, by playing few shots and taking those chances. And Dhoni back him to do that. You know, whenever Raina gets in, you know, he looks to play positive, you know, all the time and look to play those boundaries. And whenever you have a guy like Raina who are there to score runs and looking to hit boundaries, you know, obviously it makes much easier for the other guy who's standing at the other side.
I want to call up this graphic on the top batsmen in this World Cup, looking at all the teams. And what's very illustrative, Baji, is the fact that there isn't an Indian batsman right at the top. You know, you've got Sri Lankan players there, you've got Sangakkara, you've got Brendan Taylor of Zimbabwe, you've got Abid de Villiers, you've got Dilshan Tilakratne, but there isn't an Indian. Shikhar Dhawan comes in at 5. So in the top 4, you don't have an Indian, and yet you've got an Indian team that looks like the most convincing team that we've seen on display so far.
See, a lot of the time these stats won't tell you anything, but they look good. But I think, you know, overall, if you see Indian guys, they have chipped in with small little performances and they look the best team out of...
you think India looks better than Australia?
I think Australia is...
We got hammered all through the winters.
No.
In every single match we played with them.
That was a different tournament. You know, coming to a knockout stage, Australia also will be thinking that they are playing India, because India at the moment is playing the best cricket out of all the lot. And they have not got beaten.
Would Australia be taking note of this Indian side and how it's performed, or would they be confident knowing that they just beat us black and blue all through the winter, all through the Australian summer?
No, look, the Australian side will be focused on beating Pakistan first and foremost. You know, that's where all their energy would have gone this week. But the support staff will be preparing for obviously Pakistan, but then meeting India in a semi-final if they get through that game against Pakistan.
Okay, let's take a look at the top 5 Indian batsmen, because in the top 4 list of run getters in the World Cup, there isn't an Indian batsman that features. But here are the top 5 Indian batsmen. You've got Shikhar Dhawan, who got out to a very, very casual shot, Bhaji, today. You know, given the fact, if this was Bangladesh, if it had been Australia or South Africa, they would have made us pay for the manner in which Shikhar Dhawan very casually got out.
Well, that's the way he plays his cricket, you know. Sometimes, you know, by playing those stock, you get 4 runs, and sometimes you get caught, and that's how the game goes.
What I like about this graphic, Simons, is the fact that you've got Kohli, who's now not fired in a couple of matches, you know. With Kohli...
And he's due to fire.
He's due to fire.
Yes.
Watch out, Australia.
Yeah, he'll be definitely hungry for runs, and this is the time in the tournament to do it. You know, this is where your big men, you want your big men to stand up and make a big score. But the other thing I haven't mentioned is I reckon Rohit Sharma's got another big innings in him.
Why do you feel that?
Well, I felt today as though he was a bit of a... He broke the shackles today, he played within himself, and then you could see the real Rohit Sharma at the end of his innings, those fluent shots.
And he makes it look so easy. When he hits it, you know, the Melbourne cricket ground, which is possibly the biggest in the world, doesn't look all that intimidating.
Yeah. One thing is very good about, you know, out of all the stat, is Raina's strike rate is something which to look forward. I mean, this is something what he likes doing, you know, scoring at run a ball or more than that. You know, he's been phenomenal. I think he's the key.
No, but here's the key from my perspective. Look at Dhawan, highest at 137. You've got Kohli at 107, Sharma at 137, Raina at 110, Dhoni at 85. All the top batsmen have been in the runs. And that's the good thing for India.
That's a brilliant sign. You know, everybody is there with the runs behind them. They have scored whenever the team requires. So everybody, for me, to look, you know, Dhawan, Kohli, everyone looks in good nick. So I hope out of those 6 guys, even 3 guys click, we are right there on the track.
Okay, I want to go across live to Melbourne. Saurav Ganguly is joining us on this broadcast. Dada, you enjoyed India's performance. There's been a lot of talk, and you've been a big backer of Rohit Sharma. And people have been saying, you know, he's got talent, we don't see it. There were jokes on social media saying it's like black money, the hunt for black money. You know it's there, but you don't see it. With his big knock against Bangladesh in this quarterfinal, has he redeemed himself to some extent? Or would that happen only if he hammers 100 against Australia in the semis?
I think you still expect him to score a big 100 against the big teams come the semi-final. If India plays Australia, I think that will be a big test for him. But see, he can get runs only against the team he plays. For today, it was Bangladesh, and I thought it was a wonderful innings. He played superbly because India were in a bit of a stutter in the middle overs and he didn't give it away. He, along with Suresh, Raina, did a splendid job to take India to 300.
Okay, what's your sense? Harbhajan Singh was saying on the basis of the 7 matches that he's seen, India now look like the best team in the tournament, possibly better than Australia. Would you share that? Or given the fact that we got hammered all through the Australian summer, that would be a bit much to say?
No, I think India will compete with Australia if they play in Sydney. If Australia get past Pakistan tomorrow, I think it's going to be a 50-50 game. I think Australia are outstanding. New Zealand have been outstanding. India have been outstanding. And come the big day in the semi-final in Sydney on the 26th of March, it could be anybody's game. Okay,
in fact, that's the question that Vinay, we're asking all our viewers to send us live questions. That's the question that came from Vinay. He was asking, what's the chance? 50-50 says Saurav Ganguly, Harbhajan Singh. What do you say?
I would also say 50-50.
Now, come on, you can't say what your captain said.
No, seriously, because Australian, they are probably the good team to beat in this competition. And India is playing really well. I would also say 50-50.
Andrew Simons, what about you?
Yeah, for me, I think it could be the matchup of the whole tournament. Potentially, it's...
So how much of a chance does India have? 10%, 20%, 30%,
no, I think
40%?
It's only a two-horse race. Two very good teams. It'll come down to who handles the pressure and who can get the better of who on the day.
And whoever wins this game, I think they're going to end up winning the cup.
Yes.
Dada, does this Indian team remind you of the Australian team of 2007 that just looks solid right from the top all the way down? Different players helping that team win on different days. Does it give you an Australia-like feel, sir?
Let's not compare. I think that Australian team dominated Test cricket and one-day cricket. It's not just one-day cricket. They were a good side in Test matches also. Everywhere they went, they won Test matches, whether it's South Africa, India, England. They just dominated sides in all formats of the game. So I don't think it will be fair to compare both the sides, but I think this one-day team, in terms of one-day cricket, has played as good as Australia has played in World Cups in the last couple of World Cups.
Given the fact that we got hammered by Australia so badly in the Test matches and then in the one-days also, would that impact India psychologically? Because cricket is a lot in the mind. When you're taking on Pakistan, when you're taking on a Bangladesh, you're not afraid. Will India be afraid in the mind because of the fact that they weren't able to beat Australia even once the entire season?
No, I think for India that's past, because India have been in terrific form in this World Cup. It's about the recent. It's not about what was 2 months ago, and that was in Test cricket as well. So which is not India's strength at the moment, especially overseas. But one-day cricket is India's strength, and I think they will back themselves if they play Australia in Sydney. And I say if, because Australia will still have to beat Pakistan. And I think the way India has played in that condition in Sydney, where we saw the spinners taking wickets for South Africa yesterday, India will really back themselves.
Sydney, Andrew, did look like a subcontinental track with Imran Tahir bowling the way that he went, Dumini doing the damage that he did. It almost seemed more like a Mumbai or a Kolkata, the Eden Gardens, rather than Sydney. That works for India.
Oh, look, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I thought the wicket actually had quite a bit of bounce and pace for a Sydney wicket. Dhoni didn't spin the ball at all. Tahir spun it a little bit, you know, the odd ball spun, but he's a wrist spinner. But that wicket was a very good cricket wicket. The ball carried through nicely for the quicks and it came onto the bat. And if you spun the ball hard, you did get a little reward, but I wouldn't say it was a turning track.
Okay, let's take a look at the Indian bowlers. We've discussed the batsmen. Let's now look at the bowlers, because like is the case with the Indian batting unit, all the bowlers have fired. Whether it's in Umesh Yadav or Mohammad Shami, they've all got top-notch figures and they've all delivered for Captain Dhoni. And as Dhoni keeps saying, Dada, he's as good as his bowlers. The bowlers can make him either look very bad or very good as a captain. And in this tournament, all the bowlers, even a Mohit Sharma who came in as a replacement for Ishant Sharma, have all made their captain look very good. Baji?
I think everyone, you know, from Shami to Yadav to Sharma, I think they bowled really well. They've set their own field, and I think they bowled with a lot of intent. They were very positive from the first day itself. When they bowled against Pakistan, I think the same thing they carried forward in all these games. You know, they looked a tight unit. You know, when they're bowling in partnership and taking those early wickets and making it easy for the spinners to come and bowl.
Andrew, is Ravindra Jadeja the weak link in this bowling lineup? He has the worst figures of the lot, the highest economy rate. He hasn't even taken as many wickets as the others have, and he hasn't scored runs. Or are we being too unfair to Sir Jadeja?
No, he's a good little bowler, but what's happened is, because India have bowled so well the new ball, taken wickets, the middle order haven't been able to get at your Jadejas and really attack Ashwin in the middle overs. It's been too hard. They've been under pressure. They couldn't afford to take those risks.
Yeah.
But the other thing that stands out in that statistic there is the economy rates of all those bowlers. That's all under and below. It's below par. So that's a very good sign. You know, they're not going for runs, and they've bowled every team out they've come up against.
And you haven't had any team really go after the Indian bowlers, because that happened for a bit against Zimbabwe, when suddenly the Indian bowling didn't look that intimidating. If that were to happen, say, against an Australia, this bowling attack hasn't come under pressure. The batsmen have, but the bowling hasn't.
Yeah, definitely. I think we must give credit to Shami and Yadav, you know, the way they have bowled, you know, so far in this competition, and they have been taking wickets up front, and which makes life easier for spinner to bowl in the middle overs, because spinners are bowling when normally they are other team is 4 down, 5 down or 3 down, because then middle overs just go for small little runs, you know. And of course Rohit Sharma, we don't talk about him. I think he's been phenomenal. You know,
absolutely.
He's been brilliant, the way he bowled in the middle overs.
And he seems to be very confident with the short ball which he throws in. You don't expect Indian bowlers usually to do that and do it successfully. Rohit Sharma has been doing track record as a World Cup one-day captain. And take a look at these phenomenal figures, because he's at 100 today when it comes to one-day internationals. He's at 100 not out, Alan Border at 107, Ricky Ponting at 165. He is now the 3rd most successful one-day captain of all time. Baji, can he beat Border?
Yes, definitely he can beat
No,
Border.
because there's been some talk of how he might retire after the World Cup if India does well.
I don't think he'll retire, and there's no need for him to retire. He's playing well, he's doing everything right, and he's probably the best captain India ever had.
So you think he will be able to beat Border?
Yes, definitely.
Simon, what about you, sir?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if he wins the World Cup, there's a hint of he may retire and go out on a winning note, but I don't think so. I agree with Budgie. I think he'll play on for a bit longer. He's retired from Test cricket, so he hasn't got the physical grind that he'll have playing all 3 forms of cricket, so I think he'll play on.
Okay, but take a look
go
at
past
the next set of figures, which really show what his success record has been, where these victories are coming from, because he's not just been India's most successful captain, he's now one of the all-time greats in world cricket. Because out of the 16 World Cup matches that he's played, there we have it, he's won 14, and of the total matches that he's played 177 matches as captain. India has won 100 of those, lost 62, tied 4. That, Baji, is a phenomenal record. Here is his one-day record. He's right behind Clive Lloyd, because Clive Lloyd comes just 1 ahead of him, and then there's Ricky Ponting. So these are all-time greats that Dhoni is now chasing, Baji.
Yes, obviously, you know, the record shows that he have done really well, and he had that team, you know, where he can, you know, ask people to do things, and everybody was performing.
You know, his captaincy comes in for so much criticism in Test cricket, even otherwise in the Australian summer. He wasn't quite there. In the World Cup, he seems, Andrew, to be a completely different kind of person.
Oh, look, when you're winning, all that sort of stuff goes unnoticed. You know, people aren't going to criticise a team that's playing as well as India. And look, it's always one of those things. You sit around a table and you can always talk about any point in cricket, and captaincy is a big one. You know, men sit around bars and talk about who's the best captain and what have you. But the way that Dhoni's going about his World Cup, he's very clinical. He's got his quicks firing, which everyone didn't expect, and all his batters are scoring runs. So they're in good shape.
And he himself has been in good form when it's come down to him having to bat.
Yeah, I mean, he looks very applicated to what he's doing. He looks very determined. He's very keen to go back to back.
But yeah, someone who's played with Dhoni, does he have this ability to turn it on and tune off at times? Because sometimes it seems he's just not there. And if you look at his captaincy in the World Cup, at so many occasions today, Mashrafe Murtaza missed a trick or two, but Dhoni was right there on the ball all the while.
Yeah, because his players are playing well. You know, all his players are in top his form. You know, if you see the bowlers, they are doing the job, and batters are doing the job. So it makes your life easy as a captain. You know, and Dhoni, and whatever I know him, you know, the best thing about him, he leaves the cricket game in the cricket stadium itself. He don't take the cricket game.
Is that even possible?
In the room. Yes, and he's that kind of a guy.
Was that possible for you?
No, it wasn't that possible for me. You know, it wasn't the easy case for me. I used to take the cricket game back in my room and used to think, I have done this, I have done that. But Dhoni is very different. He leaves the cricket ground in the cricket itself, and he comes back and play his all other games in the ground, in the room.
Video games. Which is his favorite video game?
I don't know.
When he plays video games. That's interesting. gamer that he is. Well, we're slipping into a quick break. When we come back, we'll focus just for a moment on the big clash tomorrow. Pakistan versus Australia. And everyone in the India Today Mediaplex, Andrew, you must know, is cheering for Pakistan. For once, all Indians are Pakistani fans. They're hoping that mercurial Pakistan turns up at its very best, somehow finds a way of smashing the smashing Aussies, and then we can take them on. Pakistanis will deal with a lot more confidence than we'll deal with the Australians.